Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 5th edition of NHL Grinders Live. I'm going to be your host today, Sean, PSU fans 2 Newsroom. Joining me on this lovely Tuesday afternoon is Timothy Buell. Tim, how's it going today?
Good. We got a lot of games to break down, so I mean, this is gonna be a really good tournament slate.
Yeah, just before we hopped on, Tim was asking why one team wasn't higher priced than they are, which we'll get to, I think, pretty early in the rundown here today. But just a couple housekeeping notes for everyone before we get rolling here. We're running a contest on the YouTube channel, so make sure you hit the like button on YouTube and leave a comment on this video with your guess on how many DraftKings points the highest scoring skater will produce. Whoever is the closest will win a week free of Rotogrinders premium combo subscription. And then along with that, we have the Major League Baseball season starting. Tim, I know you're pretty pumped about that. Are you ready for MLB and a little bit of change of scenery going on?
Yeah, I'm getting pretty tired of grinding NHL and NBA. I'm ready for some MLB. I got a lot of homework I need to do and get some baseball knowledge back in my brain.
Yeah, definitely. It's always the end of the season when you're getting toward the end of one season, you're just begging for that next new season to come out. And then all of a sudden that season becomes the outdated thing. You're like, oh, I can't wait for the hockey to come back. But Rotogrinders has a ton of discounts available for you guys to take advantage of. With the Masters week in full swing, we're offering a Rotogrinders PGA seasonal subscription at a huge discount. And then with the MLB starting just around the corner, you can get the Rotogrinders MLB premium monthly subscription with $10 off your first 2 months. So for more information on that, you can find that in the link to in our description below. So make sure you guys check that out. And then if you guys are looking for some sports betting content, I know March Madness just ended up. We had a lot of good sports betting picks and advice in there. So we've got you covered over at scoresandodds.com, your number one place for all things sports betting. Check it out for daily expert picks, analysis, and tools to make you a better sports bettor. I know Tim drops hockey-related things in there, along with other things. I'm usually throwing in some soccer. We have a bunch of other experts thrown in different baseball, basketball, hockey, football, etc. USFL starting. I'm sure we'll have stuff in regards to that. So make sure you guys check that out as well. So for the slate tonight, we have a 10-game slate coming at you. Pretty good size. We like to see the 10 games. We have $100K, $20 on DraftKings, which is always a solid contest as well. And then it looks like the 10 games, most of them are relatively early. There's only one game after 8:30. So you get a pure late night hammer tonight with only one game late. So we're going to start it off here, and we're going to look at the first game coming out. Let me see what I have here. We got Columbus at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a slight home favorite here. So we have two teams that are not necessarily the best out there. So we'll start with the away Blue Jackets first. Zach Werenski made his return the other day. So he's back on the ice for the Blue Jackets. He, however, is priced incredibly high, but he came right back in and played 28 minutes immediately. So he came back in and just jumped right back into it. So with the Blue Jackets, who do you like on the Blue Jackets, Tim?
Yeah, so if you're looking for an even strength line, I would start off with just the top line with Roslovic, Line A, and Voracek. Line A and Voracek both correlate on the top power play unit with Werenski. So I think those three would be my primary targets. I think Andrew Peeke is a decent value on the blue line. And then I'm always a fan of Oliver Bjorkstrand just because of his shot rates, and he gets time on the first power play unit as well. I think that this game, as we break down the entire slate, is going to be a decent source of cheap value on both Columbus and Philly. So if you want to pay up for some of the higher price studs, then this is a decent game for some filler stacks.
Yeah, for sure. So back on the Philadelphia side, with Ryan Ellis out, he's the most expensive price person on the Flyers, despite being a long-term injury. You have the Cam Atkinson revenge game. He comes out there at 4,700. He's always someone that likes to fire shots, and no one on the Flyers are really expensive at all, despite being a favorite here. So who do you like on the Flyers?
Yeah. So the first thing is obviously it's Cam Atkinson. He's going to be, it's more than just revenge. It's a good matchup. It's a good price. First power play unit. Columbus is not the same kind of, tough defensive team that they used to be. This is a team that gives up a lot of high danger chances. They're pretty below average defensively. So you can correlate Atkinson and Morgan Frost, I guess. They're both play together even strength and on the power play. And I believe Morgan Frost is the min. So my favorite kind of even strength line is line 2 for Philadelphia. Kevin Hayes, Owen Tippett, and JVR. They come in incredibly cheap, and this is definitely a really good filler line tonight.
Yeah, and it's nice, like you said, if you want to be attacking some higher, more expensive options, this is definitely one of the paths to do so with getting a favorite relatively cheaply.
Yeah, the thing is, Atkinson's ownership is, I would guess, is going to be around 10 to 15%, which on such a big slate is pretty high. So just be wary of that if you're making a lot of teams tonight. I would imagine that the second line is going to be significantly lower owned.
For sure. All right, next game we have the Ottawa Senators traveling to the Montreal Canadiens. It's pretty much a coin flip. Ottawa is a slight favorite at -112. We will start with the Canadiens. Everyone on the Canadiens are relatively cheap. You have nobody over 4,600. Someone that we talk about frequently on these shows, I feel, is Cole Caulfield. He comes in at 4,300 here. Scored a goal in his last game, had 4 shots on goal as well. So I assume you're going to say that you like Caulfield here. Anyone else on the Canadiens that you like outside of him?
Yeah, I do like Cole Caulfield quite a bit tonight. I also like Mike Hoffman quite a bit. He's only 2,700, second line. He correlates with Josh Anderson on the second line and on the top power play. So, this is very, very similar spot to Philadelphia. Extremely cheap, good matchup. Definitely you definitely need to have these guys tonight as your filler pieces. Brandon Gallagher's back. He'll be playing on the third line. That's a pretty decent third line for the Canadiens with Armia, Dvorak, and Gallagher. I don't like them as much as the top 2 lines, but still, they're incredibly cheap in a great spot.
Definitely. And then on the other side, we really have no salary reduction on a lot of the top end guys for Ottawa. Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson, they're all relatively expensive. You do get a bit of a discount if you go down to like the Stutzel area, but I think that to me, Montreal is a bit more appealing here. But what do you like on the Ottawa here?
Yeah, Montreal is definitely way more appealing. I do like Brady Tkachuk as a one-off. I think that he's kind of still a little too cheap for his price. I would have him closer to 7,000 on DK or 7,200 on DK, and he's only 6,400. I wouldn't get too wild with this Ottawa team, but the other side of that is Montreal is so bad defensively. They give up so many high danger chances. They take the second most penalties, I think, in all NHL. So if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be an Ottawa power play stack. But if it's just a one-off, I'm looking at Tkachuk.
For sure. All right, next game we have New York Rangers -146 visiting the New Jersey Devils. Big news in this game is that Jack Hughes will not be playing for the Devils, which is obviously detrimental to them. So we'll start here with the Rangers side of things. Ryan Strome's a game time decision. We're not sure whether or not he will play as of now. But with the thoughts that Jack Hughes is out, how will that impact what you do with the Rangers tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm not too heavy on the rain or on either side of this game, to be honest with you. I think that Dougie Hamilton is worth a shot in GPPs because we're going to get to another defenseman who's right around this price range that's going to be pretty popular tonight. We'll get to him later, but he's going to be. I think Dougie Hamilton's going to be a really good tournament play tonight. Whether Hughes is in or out, I'm guessing Hughes is not playing. Has he already been ruled out? Do you know?
I believe he has been. He has not been ruled out, but it looks like he probably will not play today.
Yeah.
I thought I saw something though that he was ruled out, so there's a possibility he is ruled out. And I just don't have it in.
Yeah, I would imagine. I didn't seem like he was going to be playing. So I mean, I would imagine it's going to be Nico Hischier is going to go to the top line. I'm not crazy about the Devils. Jesper Bratt's had a fantastic season. You could play him. Miles Wood is min priced. So I mean, these would just be kind of leverage plays off of the chalkier value of the Canadiens and the Flyers.
For sure. And then we'll talk about the Rangers a little bit. With it looks like the most likely goaltender tonight is going to be Georgiev for the Rangers. Now, that's not confirmed. It could still be Shesterkin. So I know that we've talked about Shesterkin a lot here. What is your thoughts if Georgiev's in that instead?
Well, it's pretty clearly a huge downgrade for them. So Shesterkin was going to be my favorite cash game goalie. So obviously I'll have to wait for the announcement on that. I'm not going to roster. If it's Gordiev, I'm not going to roster him. I'm not going to roster either one of the Devils goalies. I think the Rangers for offense are priced fairly efficiently. There's nobody that really stands out to me. You could always play Panarin or Fox, but I think that they're just priced too efficiently for me.
For sure. All right, next game we have one of the biggest totals I've ever seen. Toronto at Florida. Florida comes in as a -162 favorite. The total in this game is over 7 is juiced. We're expecting like 7.13 goals, give or take, here in this game, which is pretty wild. And it makes it so that Toronto is also expected to score quite a few goals, more so than most favorites on the slate. So looking at the Toronto side, William Nylander missed the game on Monday due to an illness. Haven't heard whether or not he'll be in, so you'll have to make sure you check in the Discord to see if he will be back. And then Jake Muzzin has been activated off the IR, I believe, but unsure if he'll actually be in the lineup. So we'll start here with the Florida side. Florida is expected to be scoring almost 8 goals here. Obviously, a lot of their players are really strong. You do have Barkov priced really expensively. However, when you go past him, a lot of the guys are not that expensive. So what's your thoughts on Florida?
Yeah, so I mean, Mackenzie Weaver is going to be the chalk kind of blue liner tonight, 5,100. He's starting to get top power play minutes. He's got to be your single entry cash game defenseman tonight. One of them for sure. He's going to play definitely 25 minutes tonight. This game is going to be fast paced and it's going to be a spectacular game to watch. I think if I was making multiple teams, I would probably be underweight on Barkov. I think he's a little too expensive. I would prefer going to the second line of Bennett, Huberdeau, Giroux, but that's just my personal take. And Huberdeau and Giroux both play on the first power play unit as well.
Definitely.
The Maple Leafs goalie Kallgren is actually my favorite GPP goalie on the whole night because he's going to get tons of volume. and the Maple Leafs are only plus 140 dogs. So it's not completely unheard of for them to win this game. And if they do win this game, he's going to absolutely smash value.
Yeah, and it's realistic. I mean, we were talking about it beforehand. So Calgren is, like you said, plus 140 here. They might give up 2 or 3 goals, but if he wins, he might have like a 35-40 save type of win, give up 2 or 3 goals. That's going to be a pretty great return at that price point.
And honestly, I wouldn't mind playing a couple Panthers with Calgren in your lineup. I mean, he's not going to, you could go like a Reinhardt, Uyghur or something like that with Calgren in your lineup. I mean, that's a really good way to get unique. It's a high ceiling play. He's not going to shut this team out. I'm hoping for like a 40 save, 3 goal allowed performance and the win, and you're there. Yeah. That team's gonna be unique, and it's gonna be, high up in the standings.
For sure. All right. And then on the Toronto side, like we talked about, we don't know whether or not that Nylander is going to play, but they are still expected to score quite a few goals. So what's your thoughts on the Toronto side here?
Well, Austin Matthews is matchup proof. And what the Panthers have shown all season long is that they just want to outscore you. They don't necessarily want to keep you from scoring. So Austin Matthews, I don't think I'm going to play him in my cash game build, but that could end up being a mistake. Like last night, I didn't play him, and that didn't go very well for me. So, I mean, he is 9,600. He probably has the highest raw projection, on the slate, but John Tavares is 5,600, and that's far too cheap for this matchup, and he gets power play 1, so I think that's a really good play.
Yep. All right. Next game, we have Colorado Avalanche traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Penguins. It's pretty much a coin flip. Pittsburgh is very slight favorite in this game. Speaking of the sort of high-end centers you have between McKinnon, McDavid, and Matthews, all of which are on this slate. McKinnon, for me, is probably the worst of the bunch here, so we'll start with the Avalanche. You have Kadri out in this game. He's expected to miss some time. We have Landeskog still out. Nichushkin is day-to-day. So we have a lot of guys that are out here for Colorado. What is your thoughts here with McKinnon and compare him to that of the other big dogs on the slate?
I would definitely agree with that power rank that he is, at the bottom of these top end centers tonight. This game, these two teams just played a couple days ago, and it was a 3-2 game in Colorado. Colorado won. It was tight checking. It had a lot of playoff feel to it. This game for me, I mean, obviously anybody can play McKinnon anytime they want. He's an outstanding top 4 or 5 player in the NHL. But tonight, I don't think that this game has the ceiling that you're going to need to win a GPP. Pittsburgh does a tremendous job of keeping the puck out of their own net, and I don't think that there's going to be enough goals in this game.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, not much I like from Pittsburgh. I know we talk about them frequently, that they just sort of lack that massive upside that some other big teams have. If this is going to be a high checking game where there's just not going to be tons of flow in it, I don't really like anyone on the Penguins. Do you see anyone that you like?
No, I think Brian Rust, Chris Letang are a little cheap, but this matchup is just not great. So I really think you could take a stand with this game and exit out. I really do. I don't think that anybody's really going to hurt you so bad that you have to have them.
For sure. All right. Now on to the next game where I know Tim will be spending his salary. We have Carolina traveling to Buffalo. Somehow Carolina is a big favorite. I think there's a mistake on that. But anyways, we'll start with the home team, Buffalo Sabres. Tim, before we came on, you were saying that you really think everyone on their team should be 7K plus because they're the best team in the league.
I know you made these pricings for the Sabres. I know that you did.
so why don't you break down the thoughts on the pricing here?
Well, Buffalo is far too expensive. I'd be shocked if you need any of that top line that are all over $6,000 against the Hurricanes. So I would really recommend not playing anybody from Buffalo.
What he's really saying, everyone, is just stack Buffalo 150 times and call it a day, and you're going to be profiting tonight. Well, to be fair, if that pays off, you really would be profiting.
Yes, you would be profiting. You'd be very different.
Yep. All right. And then on the other side, we have the Carolina Panthers. To me, they're just our better spots on the night. That said, I think they'll go a bit underowned being on the road, and they are still expected to score over 3.5 goals. They have one of the highest team totals on the slate. So, what's your thoughts of that of the Panthers or of the Hurricanes?
So I'm really considering rostering Trocheck and Svechnikov in my single entry build tonight. They're a really nice little 2-man that's I think a little bit too cheap. They get full correlation both at even strength and on the power play. So I think that's a really nice 2-man that you could do. There are a lot of cheap pieces like Natchez and Niederreiter that are, I think, they're both 3,300. I think you could play them as, leverage plays off of other cheap values that we've already spoken of. I like Tony DeAngelo today, even though I don't usually like him, but I think he's in a really good spot. So it's those 3 Hurricanes for me. I think if you're playing just like a smaller field kind of cash game type format, I think if you just really wanted to win, you could do Frederik Andersen as your goalie, but I wouldn't do that in like a large field GPP. This is merely just kind of chasing the win bonus for me.
For sure. All right, next game we have Boston minus 203 at Detroit. So big news in this game is David Pastrnak is not going to be in the lineup on Tuesday. No real indication what the specifics are with him missing, but he will not be in the lineup tonight for Boston. So we'll start with the Bruins. We did see a little bit better minutes recently from Bergeron outside of the blowout last week. So what's your thoughts on the Bruins here traveling to Detroit?
It's tough because I kind of want to see what they're going to do with their lines. But obviously it's a tremendous spot for Marchand and Bergeron and DeBrusk. Taylor Hall might be thrust into some more opportunities without his line mate Pastrnak. I think that given the fact that it's the second night of a back-to-back, the prices are efficient. I think that I wouldn't full on fade them, but I think I would try to be responsible about the amount that you play them. I wouldn't get too carried away with Boston tonight.
And then on the Detroit side, we have people that are just not super cheap with Larkin, Bertuzzi, and these guys. So is there anyone that you like at all on the Detroit side of things?
No, not really. I don't think there's anybody that we need to play. Jake Wallman, I think, is a pretty good prospect, and he's been priced, but I just don't see that he has really any kind of point ceiling tonight. But I think he may be worth a kind of a speculative play in a GPP if you need somebody at 2,500.
For sure. All right, now we're getting into a couple games that I'm not super interested in. We'll start with Minnesota at Nashville. Pretty much a dead even coin flip so far with tonight. We will start with Nashville. Well, we do obviously have Roman Josi, but he has been shut down the last 2 games and really has not produced anything. So what's your thoughts on Nashville and what's your thoughts on Josi really being unproductive over the last 2 games?
Well, I mean, he was due for some regression, right? I mean, he was just on fire for forever. And it's just like in baseball, you see it, guys start going 6 of 10 or, homers in 3 straight. You can't sustain that over a long period of time. So, I mean, he was due to come back to earth a little bit. He's still an outstanding player. He's still the best offensive defenseman in all of hockey. But tonight, I would say, is not a real good spot for him. I would not be paying this price for him in this matchup. I don't think, having said that, however, I think a lot of people will feel that way and it'll be very, very, very low owned. So maybe you don't full fade him, but maybe you just take a couple flyers on him if you're making like 20 teams. But I certainly wouldn't play him in like a 1-3 setting. Sure. Saros I think, is very cheap, even though this isn't the best spot. But I think he's a very, very viable GPP goalie.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this game in general, both goalies are right around 7,400. between the two teams. One of them is going to get a win. Right. So whichever one is going to get the win out of the two will probably have a decent performance for that price point.
You could take a couple, split your teams up, if you're making like two teams and split them up with these two goalies. And I think that would be a viable strategy.
For sure. All right. Then on the Minnesota side of things, we have Kirill Kaprizov is 7,200. Outside of him, everyone's below 5,200 or at 5,200. So is there anyone on Minnesota that stands out to you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that top line of Minnesota is really good. I would imagine Hartman, Zuccarello, Kaprizov are going to be very low owned tonight. I think that they have a tremendous ceiling for that price. They're the type of line, and this is the type of slate where they would be somebody I'd want to be overweight on, assuming that they are as low owned as I think they're going to be.
For sure. All right. Next game. This game is the lowest total on the slate by far. Almost a full goal less than every other game expected on the entire night. We have New York Islanders traveling to Dallas to face off against the Stars. Dallas, slight favorite here at minus 126. We'll start with the Dallas side of things. The price points on a lot of these guys are not super expensive. Like even looking at Seguin and Ben, they're really cheap. So I do see some value here despite there being not a ton of goals expected. What do you see?
I always am waiting for the Islanders to get lit up, and they just never seem to get lit up. But the price on Joe Pavelski is extremely low. Jason Robertson's extremely low. Just like what you were saying, I'm a big fan of Miro Heiskanen. He's under 5K. This is a really good kind of GPP play because of the prices, because they're kind of in that mid range. So it's going to be very different to play guys that are not in the stars and scrub type build. So this is a really good way to get exposure to people in the mid range. This first line for Dallas does have a ceiling. So I think that they're worth a play, but I won't be rostering them in my single entry format.
For sure. All right. On the other side, we have the Islanders. Not much in terms of production over the course of the year from anyone really on the Islanders on a consistent basis. Is there anyone that you like on them? They are priced a bit more expensive than the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, this would be a real complete stay away for me. I wouldn't even goof around with this. You could one off like Beauvillier, I guess, Palmieri, I guess, but I really wouldn't do that.
For sure. All right. Last game of the night, the late night hammer. We have Edmonton minus 181 at the San Jose Sharks. So we'll start with the Edmonton Oilers here. McDavid comes in as the second most expensive player. And of the three big dogs, he probably has the best matchup, I would say, of the group. They are expected to beat San Jose here. The other two big centers are underdogs in this game. So we'll start with Edmonton. What's your thoughts on the Oilers?
So Connor McDavid is my favorite play on the slate. He's the reason why I'm not going to be playing Austin Matthews in my cash game lineup. Not to say that Austin Matthews isn't a great play, but I just prefer McDavid. He's really putting his team on his shoulders throughout this final stretch. He is on fire. He's shooting the puck a lot more than he usually does, which is just tremendous for his floor. He gets the best matchup. This is the spot for me. This is the, I want to be overweight on him in tournaments. This is my top play.
Yeah, and speaking of the shooting more than he usually does, McDavid over his last five is averaging just under 7 shots per game. This is someone who over the course of the season averages about 4 a game. So you have the best player in the league, and he's actually shooting the puck a significant amount.
Yeah, and that's one of the frustrating things about rostering McDavid is that he doesn't have the same shot rate as somebody like Matthews or McKinnon. So, now that he's doing that, it's just he's far and away the best fantasy player going.
Definitely, especially right now. And if he continues that, I would agree 100%. All right, on the Sharks, we have Brent Burns that scored in his last 3 games here for San Jose. Is there anyone else, or including Brent Burns, that you like on the Sharks tonight?
I would really like to get exposure to the Sharks because I want McDavid to hit a real ceiling. So I want this game to stay somewhat competitive and back and forth. That guy for me is Timo Meier. He has tremendous shot rates. I really like the idea of pairing up with Thomas Hertl. But I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'll have the salary to pair both of them together, but that's a really interesting two-man. The Oilers, they give up goals. They're another team that just wants to outscore you. They're a lot like the Panthers. So getting exposure to the Sharks, I think, is a really good idea.
For sure. All right, that's the last of our 10 games. Everyone, make sure again that you check and you hit the like button on YouTube and leave a comment and guess how many DraftKings points will be scored by the top scorer tonight. Winner will receive a free week of Rotogrinders Premium. So we talked a bit about the goalies during the show today. Any other goalies that stand out other than the ones we've already mentioned?
I think Tristan Jarry is a pretty good selection today. He plays at home. He's going to see some volume against that Colorado team. I bet the under in this game, actually, 6.5. So I don't think they're going to get to 7. So I think they're a really good play. He's a really good play. So it's Shesterkin if he starts, but it sounds like he's not going to for cash games. Kallgren, Saros, and Jarry for GPPs.
All right. And then is there any other maybe like cheaper value plays that you like that maybe we didn't talk about as much during the show today?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. Bo Byram is coming back tonight, and he's min-priced for Colorado, defenseman. He hasn't played since January 10th, so I'd imagine, I don't know if he'll get full run, but he's a really excellent player, so keep an eye on that.
For sure. All right, everyone, we wish you all the best tonight. We hope that someone takes down some of the big GPPs within the community. For Tim, I am Sean. Make sure to come back on Thursday. We'll see you guys then. Have a good one. Good luck.